Yá'át'ééh, my relatives. Hello, this is Mark Charles. Today is Friday, January 23rd. I'm sitting here not with my second cup of coffee. As my title suggests, I gave up coffee. I'm on my fifth day. Um, on Sunday last week, I made the decision to give up coffee, but I wasn't sure if I was going to wean myself or go cold turkey. And Monday morning, I woke up and decided I'm just going to give it up completely. So I gave it up Monday morning. I'm on day 5. So I have taken to drinking uh, hot water with lime and lemon in it in the morning. And so that is my new drink of choice. And I'm still using my famous Bluebird flower mug, and it keeps my water nice and warm. So I'm actually on my third cup of water this morning, but actually it's afternoon here in DC. It's almost 12:45 on the East Coast. But yeah, I wanted to have a conversation about how my journey to decolonize my health led me to make the decision to give up coffee. And I want to talk more just about some how I've been thinking about decolonization in my work and in our nation and in what's going on globally even. And so I want to have a conversation about that. So grab your favorite morning or early afternoon beverage and let's have a discussion. But before I begin, let me do like I always do and acknowledge that I am speaking to you from what's now called Washington, D.C., and these are the traditional lands of the Piscataway. And I want to honor the Piscataway as the hosts of the land where I'm living. I want to thank the Piscataway for their stewardship of these lands. And I want to just state how humbled I am to be living, moving, breathing, existing on these lands today. So my Piscataway relatives, thank you for your stewardship of these lands. Let me check the chat here and see who's on with me today. I see there's a few people on, not a whole lot, but a couple. Shantina Yá'át'ééh, greetings from Virginia. Thanks for joining me today. You're probably, like everyone else here on the East Coast, preparing for the snowstorm that we're supposed to get. On Sunday, it's supposed to hit DC Saturday night and Sunday morning. I've heard predictions up to 2 feet of snow. So, yeah, it could be pretty crazy. But anyway, yeah, so good to see you here. Thanks for joining. Who else is on here? George. Yeah, hey, been George. It's still morning on the West Coast. Thank you for joining me. I am drinking my cup of hot water with lemon and lime in it, and very much enjoying my new morning routine. So thank you very much. And who else is here? Jordan. It looks like Jordan is with me. Hey, Jordan, grab your orange juice. Thanks for joining me. Good to have you. Thanks for being here. There's so many people coming in this morning. I want to thank everybody who has joined me this morning. Who is this? Carrie. Our Karen Carl. Yá'át'ééh, Karen, great to see you. Thanks for joining me. Yeah, I don't. I bought this online actually. If you look for Bluebird flower coffee mugs, you can find them online. I don't sell them on my website, but I do have them. You can get them online, which is where I got mine. So everyone who's here, thank you so much for being here. There's probably a lot of questions you have about why I gave up coffee, and I could go into any number of reasons, but it's largely tied to my desire to decolonize my health. As you know, since I had my hip replaced almost 2.5, nearly 3 years ago now, I've been working very hard to live healthier, to move more, to eat, breathe, sleep better. And I've been able to be successful in almost every arena except for one, which is my sleep. Um, so I move anywhere from 12 to 16,000 steps a day. I've lost nearly 55 to 60 pounds and kept it off for the past year. I have changed my metabolic health. I've changed my blood glucose levels. I've changed almost every measure of my health over the past 2.5 years of my life, and have been able to keep it off. 2025 was mostly about keeping. How do I maintain my health, and how do I keep my health where I want it to be? But the one thing I have not been able to improve on at the rate I want to is my sleep. Um, I am an early morning person, but I also kind of like to wind down in the evening after everybody's gone to bed. So I tend to go to bed a little bit later. I'm also an extrovert, so living on the East Coast, it's easy to call people on the West Coast later in the evening and have conversations. And of course, if I watch any sports games, like from my alma mater, UCLA, those are always on very late. So it's easy to stay up late, and then I tend to get up fairly early in the morning anyway. And so I have not been sleeping well. I feel like I've been sleeping adequately, but by health measures, I have not been sleeping well. I've been getting around between 5 and 6 hours a night, which is not enough sleep. When you get that amount of sleep, and where I tend to shortchange myself is on my REM sleep, which is the sleep that helps you process your emotions and commit things to memory better. And I have not even as long as I've been tracking my sleep, my REM sleep has always been the part of my sleep that's been lacking because I tend to fall asleep quickly. I sleep heavily for the first 4 or 5 hours, and then I sleep lighter in the morning, and that's when you get the most of your REM sleep. And so I haven't been getting adequate REM sleep as long as I've been tracking it for the past 2.5 years. And I know it was the same way even before that. And ideally, you're supposed to sleep at least 6.5 to 7, even 7.5 to 8 hours a night per night. And I've not been able to do that. Now, about 2 years ago, I read a book on sleep. It's called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. I've talked about it before. It's a fantastic book. It both holds out the promise and the benefits of what happens when you sleep well, but it also scares the crap out of you because it's very blunt about what happens when you're sleep deprived. And if you've never read the book, I highly recommend that you read it. It's a great book to read. It's a fairly quick read, but or at least I listen to it on Audible and I get through it fairly quickly. But it's a well-researched, well-written book, and I highly recommend it. And when I read it, I think it was in August and September of 2024. My sleep improved drastically. I increased my sleep by almost over 45 minutes, almost an hour a night. During those months, I was sleeping about an average of 6 hours and 20 minutes a night, which I'm sure was almost up about 45 minutes to an hour of what I was before then. And that lasted for a month and a half, for 2 months. And then I started going back into my old patterns. And before you knew it, I was sleeping less than 6 hours a night again. And some nights getting as little as 5.5 to 5 hours and 45 minutes. And so I decided in January to read that book again because I want to sleep better. Sleep is so important to not only just um, uh, getting the rest you need, but it's a time when your brain refreshes itself and cleans itself. It's a way where you deal and process emotions and get better a handle on the emotional things going around you, including traumas and anxieties and things like that. It does wonders for your body and just restoring parts of your body and your muscles and everything else. And sleep is an absolutely necessary and vital component of our daily routines. And I wanted to remind myself of that and to see what I could do to get my sleep better. And I knew before, when I read about the benefits of sleep and the dangers of sleep deprivation, that I would be motivated to sleep more, motivated to go to bed earlier, but I knew I needed to do something else to get a longer term change. And one of the things I began thinking about as you, one of the things I began thinking about was the benefits of sleep, especially REM cycles, on processing emotions. This is when we dream, when we're actually processing our emotions. And I was not dreaming a lot. And many mornings I couldn't even recall my dreams or if I had dreams, and I wasn't really aware of how much I was dreaming. My wife would tell me about the dreams she was having, and my kids would talk about dreams, but I was not having very many dreams, which is a sign that I'm not getting adequate or good enough REM sleep. And so as I began researching what I could do to increase my REM sleep, obviously, it didn't take very long of looking to realize that I needed to, yes, go to bed earlier and have better kind of down patterns, but I needed to at least reduce, if not give up, my caffeine. And my podcast is called My Second Cup of Coffee, implying, and rightfully so, literally, I drink 2.5 cups of coffee every day. I usually drink it only in the morning. Sometimes I'll drink it as late as 1 or 2 in the afternoon. I don't drink it late in the afternoon. But yeah, I drink 2 cups of coffee a day. And I just began to wonder, what benefits would I get if I decided to give up caffeine and give up the stimulus of caffeine? And so I decided to do it almost as an experiment of like, yeah, I need to do something if I want to improve my sleep. And I like to try this. And so I wasn't sure if I was going to wean myself off of caffeine slowly, right? If you talk to people who've given up caffeine and given up coffee, they will tell you about the headaches they had for the first 2 or 3 days, and maybe some of the body aches they've experienced and the brain fog that they had. And so some of the people suggest that you wean yourself off slowly, take yourself down by 10% each week until after 3 or 4 months, you're down to without drinking any coffee at all. And I was debating how I wanted to go about it. And I decided when I woke up Monday morning, I'm like, I just want to, if this is really going to help my sleep, right? I don't want to work myself into that. I want to just see if I can do it and what it does to my sleep. And so Monday morning, I boiled myself a pot of water and put no, I actually didn't even put lime in it. I didn't start that until Tuesday morning. Monday morning, I just drank water. I just had some ice water. So I filled up my water bottle with water from the refrigerator and just drank some bottles of water that morning. And the benefit, I was very pleased that I did not get the headaches that a lot of people say that they get. I'm not exactly sure why, if my body just responded differently, but I do know one thing I did do very intentionally is I drank a lot of water. I probably drank every day this week. I've been drinking about anywhere from 80 to 110 ounces of water a day. So a little bit less than a gallon of water every day. And I've kept myself very well hydrated. And before that, I was probably drinking about 36 to 48 ounces of water a day. Because I would drink coffee in the morning, I wouldn't get very thirsty. And so I didn't drink much water in the morning. And so I would drink it in the afternoon and in the evenings through dinner. But once I gave up coffee, I was thirsty in the morning and I wanted to drink something to do with my hands. And so I decided to just drink more water. And then on day 2, I decided I really liked the pattern of drinking something warm and having something to kind of sip on. And so I boiled some water and put some lime in it, and it tasted pretty good. So I began drinking that and drank 2 fairly large cups. Actually, the cup I drink out of in the morning is probably twice the size of this. It holds about maybe 16 to 17 ounces. And so I would drink 2 of those. I drink 2 of those each morning. And then for my podcast, I filled this one up with some water, and I'm drinking out of here. So, and then drinking throughout the day. So I've been drinking about 80 to 110 ounces of water a day. And that could have helped alleviate some of the pressure and that people get and the headaches they get when they give up caffeine. But the other thing I noticed, and this happened literally Monday night, is I didn't necessarily start sleeping better because I'm still detoxing, but I restarted remembering dreams literally by Monday night. And like Monday or Tuesday morning, I woke up and I was thinking about what I had been dreaming. On Wednesday morning, I woke up and had a dream so vivid. I told my wife about it, and she's like, "Wow, you never talk about dreams." I said, "I know. I'm like, I feel like my brain is actually processing some of the things that's going on in it, and it feels really healthy." And yeah, so I will admit I have had a fair amount of brain fog this past week, and so I haven't been quite as energetic or as sharp as I would like to be. And I've taken naps 2 or 3 times this week, usually for about 20 to 30 minutes. One day I laid down for about an hour, just because I've been getting tired. And what I've been finding as I've given up coffee, and my sleep hasn't drastically improved yet, but I am actually going to bed earlier now because I'm literally getting tired earlier. Caffeine, obviously, it's a drug, it's a stimulant, it puts your body into fight or flight mode, and it gets you ready, and you're activated and even tense in some ways. And I didn't realize how much that caffeine was actually masking some of my sleep deprivation. And I found myself getting tired earlier in the afternoons, and I found myself getting tired again earlier in the evenings. And one of my goals for this year is I really want to begin to not just listening better to my body, but trusting my body better, right? Trusting that my body craves the food that have the nutrients that it needs, trusting that my body knows when it needs to rest and when it can move, and even trusting my body knows when it needs to sleep, and learning how to listen to my body better, right? Walking through the grocery store, and instead of thinking what is the most sweetest or what's my favorite thing to eat here, actually listening to my body, like, what am I hungry for? What nutrients does my body feel it needs? And do I need broccoli? Do I need asparagus? Do I need, some dairy products? Like, what is it that my body is craving and hungry for? Now that I've worked so hard over the past 2.5 years to get myself unaddicted to so many of the fast foods and the processed foods and all the other things that we tend to throw into our bodies. And so now, have even just it's been 5 days, but I find that having given up caffeine, I can both hear and respond to my body's communication to me about being tired. And I'm beginning to go to bed earlier. And I'm beginning to sleep a bit more deeply. And I'm definitely dreaming a whole lot more. Now I'm still in the process. It's only been 5 days, and it's supposed to take about 2 weeks to even a month to kind of get all of the caffeine out of your system and to be back to a more normal. And people talk about you'll have a lot more energy. But I, as I've been going through this process, I've been trying to think, what is my motivation? What is going to motivate me to stay on this? And just like when I was going through changing my diet and adding more movement into my life and making my life walkable, it reminded me of I'm doing things that my people, my Navajo people, indigenous people have been doing for hundreds, even thousands of years. And second, I'm rejecting the patterns of colonialism that have shaped so much of how we move, how we sleep, how we eat, how we nourish ourselves. And I'm rebelling against that and embracing the values of my indigenous people. And coffee is not indigenous to North America, right? Our people weren't drinking coffee. It was brought here probably by the Dutch, maybe by the English. It didn't start getting popular until after the Boston Tea Party, from what the research I've done, because people would drink coffee to rebel against the tea that was coming in from England. But yeah, it's not indigenous to the lands here, and it's not what our people drank. And it was a part of the colonial process of these lands of Turtle Island by Europeans. But even more than that, I think because coffee is a stimulant, and when taken in moderation, like in coffee, it's a mild stimulant, but it's still a stimulant. And I think, again, the thing I've been most shocked by this week, as I've been just monitoring my body, is how tired I actually feel. Oh, looks like my screen froze. Sorry about that. Is how tired my body actually feels at different points in the day, and how I wasn't responding to that because I wasn't necessarily feeling tired, because my body was stimulated with caffeine. And now that I'm not stimulated with caffeine, my body actually feels tired, and therefore I may take a nap in the afternoon, or I may go to bed earlier than I went to bed at 10:45 the other night, which is unheard of for me. And so, yeah, it's this whole process of decolonizing my health has been a journey to allow myself to hear my body better, and then to be able to respond to my body, either giving it the foods it actually needs, or giving it the movement that it actually wants, or even giving it the sleep that it actually craves. And for so long, I was doing so many things that muted my body's ability to communicate with me, whether it was the processed foods I was eating, or the sedentary lifestyle I was living, or the caffeine I was putting in my body. And with every step to decolonize my health, I've gained better communication lines with my body. And I really like that. I really like being able not just to hear my body and be able to listen to it, but to trust my body that it knows what it needs, and then to respond in the way that gives it what it needs, whether it's nourishment or movement or sleep. And I think that's really what's at the core of this journey to decolonize is, right? When I talk about decolonizing faith, I've pointed this out in many of my lectures, that, the Christian faith has a creator to king narrative. I've talked about this in other podcasts, where it starts in Genesis in a garden with creator. And throughout Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, the character of creator moves from creator to the God of Abraham, the God of a man, to the God of Israel, the God of a nation, and eventually, I think it's in Jeremiah, to king, where the God character in the scriptures refers to God's self as king. And the further the character of God gets from creator, and the closer the character of God gets to king, the more violent, the more vindictive, the more abusive, the more nationalistic, and the more genocidal the character of that God becomes. And even in the Christian faith, right? Not every Christian, but many denominations believe that truth is defined by the scriptures. And if you read the scriptures define violence as love. I'm not going to go into all of that, right? That's coming out in my book. I've talked about this in some of my talks, but literally defines violence as love. And defines God as abusive and vindictive and nationalistic. And what many Christians are told is that you can't trust your senses. You can't trust what you see about creation, but you can trust what's written in the book. And so you define creator not by what you see by communing with creation, but you define creator by what's written in your book. And for me, after sitting for 25 years watching the sunrise, when I read some of these passages about what creator did, whether it's destroying the world with the flood, to threatening to destroy his people on top of Mount Sinai, I would read those passages. I'm like, that's not creator. That's not who creator is. And so my process of decolonizing my faith is I'm not throwing the Bible out, but I'm saying, yeah, if the Bible is defining something that I don't experience while sitting in creation, then I'm going to trust what I see in creation. Because if you want to know creator, yeah, you can learn about creator from a book, but that at best is going to be secondhand knowledge. If you want to know creator, sit in creation. Watch the sunrise. Sit by a mountain, go by a river, sit in a stream and go there day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And then come back and you will have experienced something profound about creator through that experience. Not that the book is inherently bad, but when we trust the book over the experience of sitting in creation, that doesn't make any sense. And I think the same thing with our bodies, right? And so part of my process of decolonizing my faith has been learning how to sit in creation, communing with creator. And part of decolonizing my health has been finding what do I need to strip away of Western culture or science, or not science necessarily, but Western practices that have muted and silenced my body so it can't communicate with me. And as I remove those things, peel those things back, I can begin to trust what my body tells me. And I can begin to respond to it. And I can begin to trust what my body craves. I was in the grocery store with one of my family members the other day, and they came to the cart with a thing of broccoli. And I said, why do you have broccoli? Well, that wasn't on our menu. And they said, well, I was just walking through the grocery store thinking, what am I craving right now? And they said, I haven't had broccoli in a while and I'm craving it. So we brought broccoli home and cooked it later that day. So, yeah, I think I realized, you can read some of the books about the dangers of caffeine, and a lot of it is alarmist, and I'm not sure how much of it is well researched. But for me, one of the biggest motivations of giving up coffee is I'm finding, even after 5 days, is that it allows me to hear my body better. And it allows me to respond to my body better. And if I can tell that even after 5 days, who knows what I'm going to be experiencing 5 weeks or 5 months or even 5 years from now, right? I even when I looked up people who've given up coffee, most people just give up coffee for a few weeks or 30 days or something, and then they go back to it. I'm hoping I can make this sustainable and actually keep off coffee. That's my goal. Because I want to be able to hear my body better. So I may have to rebrand my podcast here at some point. I'm not going to stop podcasting, but I may have to rebrand it at some point and give it a different name, because my second cup of coffee no longer is going to match my patterns and what I do. So for now, it's my second cup of or my second cup of water. Again, actually, this is my third cup. But yeah, so those are some of my thinkings. But I wanted to go a little bit beyond this, because I want to just talk about a few things of what's going on in this chaotic world we live in right now. And you all know, right, that there's been a lot of talk about Greenland and the threats Trump has made and the bombastic things he said and all of that. And I want to invite you to watch this speech by Mark Carney, who's the Prime Minister of Canada. And after um, attending the World Economic Forum, he gave an address, and I've put it to the beginning of his remarks in English. He spoke for about 3 minutes in French before that, but at this point, that's his remarks in English. And he spoke for about 10 or 15 minutes. And he talked about how middle powers, nations like Canada and Australia, need to stop just being submissive to global powers. And it's a very fascinating speech. It pissed off Trump, obviously, which makes it worth listening to in and of itself. And there's a lot to digest in there. I'm sure Trump didn't even understand half of what he was talking about. But I invite you to listen to that. And there's also an AP article that I'll share with you about that. And here's the thing that I found very interesting, because there's a lot of people who are applauding Prime Minister Carney for what he said and the stance he took and the way that he spoke about trying to lay out a different path. But what I find fascinating in all of this, and you're not going to read anyone talking about this, I don't think so, is that, right, so Mark Carney is the Prime Minister of Canada. He's feeling threatened because Trump has threatened to not only take over Greenland, but also to take over Canada and Cuba and other nations. And he's appealing to other middle powers, European nations. He's specifically named Australia, I think. And the interesting thing is, all of these nations are colonial, right? All of these nations are colonial nations that have used the doctrine of discovery to colonize and take over indigenous lands. Canada did it. Denmark has Greenland. Australia has Australia, right? The US has part of North America. And so it's fascinating to hear colonial nations speaking to other colonial nations and talking about how the system is broken. And while he did talk about pluralism and the celebrating of other cultures, I know firsthand that there are many Indigenous peoples in Canada who are not pleased with the way their nations and their peoples have been treated by the Canadian government. Now, I'm not saying that means we need to reject everything Mark Carney's saying. That's not what I'm saying. But I invite you to listen to that speech he gave and read the response to it and just ponder the absurdity of it when these are basically leaders of colonial nations talking amongst themselves, all of them which exist because of their colonial histories, and yet now they're beginning to decry the colonialism of some of the larger ones, which, and I'm not saying they don't need to be cried. I absolutely disagree completely with almost everything President Trump is doing, right? I posted this on my social media the other day. I weep for this nation, and I am ashamed of our president. He is acting in a way that brings shame upon us. But it's fascinating to see how nations react, and yet they're not talking about the root of the problem. They're only talking about the current manifestation that is currently affecting them. And that's going to be a challenge, right? Because again, if you have a problem with your house, has a bad foundation, you're going to have a bad floor and cracks in your windows and leanings in your walls, and you can repaint the walls and caulk your windows and recarpet your floor all you want, but until you actually go into the basement and inspect your foundation and fix it, you're not going to fix the problem. And I fear that what Mark Carney is talking about is just about repainting the walls and recaulking the windows and recarpeting the floor. He's not dealing with the foundational level problems or issues. So camera is having a few bit of problems today. There we go. So anyway, I invite you to read those things. And hopefully, I'm going to be talking more about them in future cups of coffee, because I'm really trying to make sense of all this. I want to give you before we end today, I want to give you a preview of my upcoming schedule. I don't have a lot scheduled publicly, at least until the end of February. This Sunday, January 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern, I will be having a Q&A on my Patreon. So every month on my Patreon for the Ask Question tier and above, I schedule a Q&A. It's almost an Ask Me Anything Q&A. We usually have anywhere from 5 to 10 people online and just talk about some of the things I've put out over the past month, or in the book I've written, or in speeches I've given, or just ask my perspective on different things going on. It's a chance to have a dialogue and ask questions. And if you would like to join that, you can join my Patreon. The Ask Questions tier is $10 a month, or you can join any other tiers above that, which also will include an invitation to the Q&A. But that Q&A is going to be this Sunday, January 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Then a few other events that are coming up for me. On Tuesday, February 24th, I'm going to be speaking at the Charleston Retirement Community. I think that's in Maryland near Baltimore. I don't know if that's a public event or not yet, but I will let you know as that event gets closer. And then on Thursday through Saturday of April 9 through 11, so this is a few months out, I've just confirmed I'm going to be speaking at the Christian Community Health Fellowship Conference in Covington, Kentucky. And I will be there. I think I'm presenting in 2 or 3 seminars at that conference. And we'll be talking both about the doctrine of discovery, decolonizing health, and decolonizing health. And so I invite you, if you want to attend that conference. I will be at the CCHF conference in Covington, Kentucky, and that is April 9th through 11. And then I just confirmed this week on April 18 and 19. So the next week, Saturday and Sunday, we're calling it a Common Memory Conference, but we might rename it to something else. But I'm going to be speaking at this conference and doing a seminar. The conference is on Saturday, and I'll be giving 2 plenary sessions as well as 1 or 2 seminars. There'll be some other partners there giving some seminars too. And then on Sunday, I'll be preaching in a church in Rockford, Illinois. I will definitely put more details about that out as that event gets closer, but that's going to be on April 18 through 19. So I do have some events coming up in the future. I still am working to plan some of my Common Memory Tour events. And if you'd like to be a part of any of those or help me plan those, please go to my Common Memory Tour page on GoFundMe, and you can absolutely join in helping make those Common Memory events possible. And if you have a location where you'd like to host one of those events, please reach out to me. I would love to talk to you about trying to get this event. I'm trying to take it as many places as I can around the country. And finally, I started a Substack a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, and I'm slowly building up some of the stuff I put up there. I'm hoping to put some more stuff up in the next few days. But you can subscribe to me on Substack. And these are the ways that I work to keep my voice independent. I use my Patreon. I use crowdfunding. I use Substack as ways to help keep my voice independent. It's been much harder to get invitations for speaking recently, and so they've been far less than they have been in the past. And so I've been using more of some of these social media ways. I do not put advertisements on my YouTube channel because YouTube puts our advertisers on there, but I don't monetize them because I don't want the advertisers to influence at all what I talk about or what I have to say. And so I'm working very hard to keep my voice independent. And so some of these ways are that you can help keep my voice independent, either following me on Patreon or Substack or being a part of my GoFundMe for my Common Memory Tour. But my relatives, there's so much going on. I appreciate all of you for being here. Thank you for joining me today. Let me look through the comments and see who's on with me. Looking through different comments. Karen, thank you for the comments you're making. Andrew, thanks for joining today. Steve Yá'át'ééh, I saw your pictures from Iowa the other day, Steve. They looked beautiful, but very cold. So stay warm, my friend. I hope you're doing well. My relatives, thank you all for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of the day. I hope you have a great weekend. Walk in beauty, and may we all learn how to walk in beauty together. Yá'át'ééh and